Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to pitch it, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning and welcome into the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaXSports, the sound of Bama sports, your show, your team. The Playbook today will bring Kennington Smith III in to talk to us about how Bama won the West, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Turning point in the game, players of the game, keys to victory. What do you want to accomplish this week if you're Nick Saban, as we have a lesser opponent that he'll tell us is a great school. But we'll talk about those things and more. Join, share, and like the live stream at the Martin Houston 35, Martin Houston 35 fan page on Facebook, at Martin Houston 35 on YouTube and Twitter or the X. Also, you can find us at MaXSports on Facebook and Max_recruiting on Twitter. Those conversations and more are part of the conversation, so we invite you in to join that conversation. Remember, you can call the Alabama One hotline at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. You can also join us on the live stream, send your comments, reactions, and questions into the live stream chat and let us hear from you. Got a great show lined up for you today. So buckle up, get the phones ready, get the phone lines ready. But we want to hear from you. Bama wins the West again, and we'll talk about it and break it down. Remember that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone. Be the difference you want to see in the West, in the world. Be the difference you want to see in the world today. I guess I got the West on my mind, how Bama won the West, but be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Doing well. We Chuck Hunt already hit us up with Jimbo is out. We'll circle back on that, but I saw a stat, Xavier. This is going to blow your mind. His first offensive coordinator job, he made $20,000 for the year, and now they're going to pay him $26,000 and some change a day for the next 8 years. Not to coach. What you think? Well, anyway, we'll talk about that's the craziest thing. That may be, you talk about when they put all time, you know how they always show like the guys who were the worst draft pick ever. This has to clearly be the worst decision ever made. They fired a guy who had actually better performance. I think Kevin Sumlin would have done better. I think the West was better when Sumlin was there. I think SEC was better. So we'll circle back on that. But X, man, just right off the bat, what's cooking from the weekend with you?
Man, Jalen Miro finally, I think, had his first weekend where I didn't see a lot of people going, oh, well, but amazingly, after his 6 touchdown performance, another record setting performance. So, I mean, I think that's the good that Jalen, I'll just go ahead and throw out my good that Jalen Miro is actually getting some respect from the Alabama nation as a whole.
What was crazy, I was reading through some comments and someone said something about his game and how well he did, and some idiot responded, "Who cares about individual accomplishments? Just go win a national title." I'm like, don't you get it, dude? That this guy's individual statistics is what will lead to the national title. 3-3, six in a game, uh 10 in the last 2 weeks. I mean, what else do you want? What else do you want? That's what he's doing. He is leading his team to an opportunity for the national title. And the only reason you don't look at it from um, a national title opportunity won't be Jalen Miro. It'll be Coach Nick Saban and Tommy Rees. Did you hear in the game? This is probably the most shocking. I wish I'd been somewhere where I could have recorded and replayed it. The most shocking clip to me, the most shocking clip of the year. Listen to this. And if I had a radio station and I had a webpage, I would write an article on this. How in the world is it that Nick Saban and Tommy Rees, now if they said this, because the announcers on during the game said that they did not change the offense to fit Jalen Miro until 3 weeks ago. Until 3 games ago, they changed the offense to fit Jalen Miro. How is that even possible that they went all spring, all summer, all fall, all football season, and they were still trying to make him do what they did before? That's what the announcer said that he was told by Nick Saban and Tommy Rees. Those have to be the most shocking comments I've ever heard about anything regarding a player and their ability. X.
It made my jaw drop when I heard him say that on Saturday. I was just like, you mean to tell me that we didn't try anything until the bye week? You couldn't slowly start implementing stuff throughout the season? And so, no, it wasn't because Jalen wasn't healthy or he was healthy. They just chose not to do it. They tried to make him something he's not. In the 2 games that we have seen him be what he is, he's put up over 600 something total yards of offense and 10 touchdowns when you finally made it about him.
And he could have easily got more if we don't play tie for a whole quarter. Let's get to a couple callers because we're going to be adding Kennington Smith into the conversation. Most shocking statement I've ever heard. Most shocking statement I've ever heard. I mean, I don't know if I've ever heard anything more shocking. Alan, you're in on the Alabama One hotline with Martin and Xavier. What's on your mind?
Good morning, gentlemen. If Lincoln Riley has Milrow, he's a Heisman Trophy winner next year. I'll leave that alone. That comment that guy made, I'm reading between the lines what he really means by that. And once again, I'll leave that alone.
Who is that now?
As far as the comment that the guy made about winning national championship, just winning national championship, to me that's an underlining statement for something else.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll leave that. Yeah, I'll leave that alone.
yeah, absolutely.
As far as the NIL backfired on
Jimbo.
Jimbo. Yeah, it backfired. I mean, he paid all them players that money, and they have not played a down in college, and that I believe that backfired on him big time, big time. And I can see I don't see him coaching again. I actually see him being a analyst for pre-game, post-game, and halftime. If he does coach again, it'll be his some high school where his son's playing at or grandkids are playing at. He'll never be an analyst. I mean, he'll never be an analyst for Coach Saban because of what happened last year, and his ego won't let him do it. I mean, his ego will not let him go anywhere to be second fiddle again. And as far as Coach Saban them go, I honestly believe that statement that announcer made. I believe that. Just look at the play. Look what happened.
Absolutely.
I mean, I believe that.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's the craziest. I don't see how you could have that guy and that be your statement. I don't see how you could go 7 games with that dude and call those plays. If you got anything else, and not give him a chance to be the best he could be.
Yeah, Martin, I'll say this: you cannot blame. I've been blaming Tommy Reese the whole time. You cannot blame Reese for that. You got to blame the head coach because he's the one that says this is what we're going to do. Yep. Reese has to implement what the head coach says. So I can't blame him for that. I'm almost ready to move my trucks to another location. I'm kidding about that. No, I'm kidding about that one. But hey, it is what it is. Y'all have a good day.
All right, thanks, Alan. We'll keep the calls to the other side. We'll add Kennington to the conversation. We'll also have Pat and Robert in on the other side. Speaking of that, we'll talk about it on the other side. Keep the conversation going. Most shocking statement that I've heard possibly ever when it comes to a player and a player being judged. Nick Saban, Tommy Reese both said that they were trying to continue to do what we've always done at Alabama with Tommy Reese. I said it at the beginning. If you run the offense that is suited for this young man, there would have never been a quarterback competition. And the fact that only 3 games ago they went to this, which means Tennessee, LSU, and Kentucky, and look at what the young man's done, 27-0. We know what they did to LSU, and we know what they did last week. They would be averaging 49-plus points per game under this offense. The Tide won the West. Are they playing the best football in the country right now? We'll add Kennington Smith to the third to the conversation. We'll add you to the conversation as well.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, everything pretty quiet on the roadways on this Monday morning. We're looking good, but if you see conditions, do give me a call. 205-886-8886, 2468, up to $10,000 in instant savings now at Townsend Nissan, your hometown dealer. I'm Captain Ray.
Join Tide 100.9 this Friday from 12 to 2 for Fridays at the Free. Come see Lars Anderson and Matt Coulter for Big Noon Sports live at Innisfree Irish Pub, Tuscaloosa's best bar for 25 years and counting. Innisfree's Irish Pub has delicious pub food with an Irish flair. Come have the Innisfree Lucky Lunch, a delicious meat and 3, while Lars and Matt get you ready for the Bama game this weekend. Fridays at the Free, every Friday during football season with Tide 100.9 and Innisfree Irish Pub, located at 1925 University Boulevard, downtown Tuscaloosa.
Are you ready to smell better naked? I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, the OBGYN creator of Lumi, the whole body deodorant that's clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours on pits, feet, privates, and beyond. It's pH optimized to safely and effectively control odor anywhere you have it, but wish you didn't. Plus, it's proven to work better than a shower with soap alone. Whether you shower twice a day or 3 times a week, Lumi works better. And did we mention it's aluminum free? With over 200,000 5-star reviews, I'm so sure you're going to love it, or you can return it for free.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 800 and get an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack that comes with a solid stick, cream tube, free product of your choice, and ships free with code 800. LumeDeodorant.com, code 800 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. Love it or return it for free. That's LumeDeodorant.com, code 800.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Partly to mostly sunny today with a high around 70. Tonight, increasingly cloudy below 49. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy. The better chance of rain will be south of here, the high 65. Wednesday, cloudy and cool. Rain likely at times, the high 59. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 56 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports Xavier Houston.
Welcome back into the conversation right here on your home for Alabama Sports, Tide 100.9. We add in Kennington Smith, the third to the conversation. We got a couple of callers we want to add into the conversation. But here's Coach Nick Saban talking about, in his opening comments, talking about Jalen Milroe and this Alabama offense. Hold on, not getting the audio, so we'll circle back on that. But yeah, Coach Nick Saban, without a doubt, we'll circle back to that in just a moment. Good morning, Kennington. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Doing well, doing well.
Good.
Well, we got a couple callers. I'm gonna go ahead and let them get in on the conversation, and then I'll circle back with you because I'm sure they want to comment based on the prior segment. So listen in to what they got to say. Pat, you're in on the conversation. First of all, congratulations of the callers. You were the closest to Alabama. Point total, you had 42-17. Of course, they went 49-21. Of course, I was the closest again of the guests. Mine was 54, not of course, but I was the close 54-10. And had they not gave up that stupid touchdown at the end, man, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
But Pat, congratulations, you're in. What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, Morton, I was beginning to think that I wanted to take you. I don't gamble, but I kind of thought I wanted to take you over to play some bets for Sunday. But no, I'm kidding. But hey, man, unbelievable! What Jalen did, and his name is now went from being the GOAT to now being mentioned with an H in front of his name. Good Lord. I mean, hey, what kind of crow are Alabama fans having to eat? And it's piled up, Martin. We talking about big time plates of crow.
Yeah.
But now listen to this though, and that's why I'm Kennington in on this one too. Is hey, even if we run the table, there's still a chance that they leave our butt out. That if Texas stays undefeated, how do you not? Texas beat Alabama heads up, even though Alabama's playing the best football in the country.
I think we can jump Texas personally because they showed that Texas was still in front of Oklahoma by 2 spots in the first poll. Everybody keeps saying that.
Okay.
Texas was clearly in front of Oklahoma, even though they had beat them by 2 spots, even with one. And I'll let Kennington respond. Kennington, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that there is an opportunity for Bama to jump Texas because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, Bama would clearly have the much better resume. And that win over Georgia in the SEC championship would be the best win in the country, bar none. You would have to reward Alabama for beating a team in Georgia who has not lost a regular season game in 3 years and have only lost once in the last maybe 2.5 years. You have to reward Alabama for that and put them in the playoff. Maybe Texas gets in as well, but I really can't see a world in which a 12-1 SEC champion Bama doesn't make the playoff.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's possible that Alabama could pass them this week and get the controversy started. Texas has barely won 3 or 4 games in a row. And they say that they're looking for the best 4 teams in the country, not just the win. And I get that. When you can put Oregon in front of Texas and Alabama, and then you have the gumption to go on and say nationally, the reason you did that was because their win against Utah qualified as the best win. I mean, think about that. Utah lost again, and that's
Their second
what
best
they
win
said.
is Colorado.
Do what now?
Their second best win before last week was Colorado.
Yeah. Well, they said that no, I'm talking about Oregon. Oregon, they said Oregon's best win, the reason they're in front of Texas as a one-loss team and Alabama as a one-loss team, is because of the win against Utah. So, which is crazy. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it.
Hey, one more question before I go for Kennington is, does he not agree that Alabama has the most fantastic coach in that we just picked up Brady, Zion Grady, and for him to be doing that, brokering nearly $1 billion automobile deal, leading Alabama to the most fantastic, unbelievable offensive change ever. I mean, just everything that he's doing is saying that nobody is even on the planet with Coach Saban as far as being a football coach.
Kennington, really quick. Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, I think, that it's kind of twofold. I mean, I think the Zion Grady thing, what I think too is just kind of the forward thinking of Alabama's coaching staff, the way that they wrapped up the majority of the 2024 class so early in the calendar. I mean, the majority of the class was locked up in the summertime, which gave them an opportunity to look ahead to 2025. I believe they have the top ranked 2025 class. So, you have to credit Nick Saban for working in the present, working in the future, in recruiting, and then also managing this year's team as well. So, very few people, if any, besides him, are able to kind of juggle that many hats at one time. So, I wrote about this over the weekend. I feel like this year's team is kind of a masterpiece in coaching by him, and he just continues to show that week by week.
Absolutely. We got Robert. Robert, you're in on the Alabama One hotline with Kennington, Xavier, and Martin.
Hey, guys. Hey, gotta disagree with you all on that Texas game. I keep thinking if the situation were reversed, there would be no Alabama fans thinking Texas should jump us, to be beat them in their home state.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So I just don't see how Alabama can jump Texas. Yeah, they struggle. They've been struggling. They're not one of the four best teams. I understand what we all say. They claim they're supposed to be the four best teams. They pick four best teams. But we know, there's a little bit of politics involved in that. And a win head-to-head has to matter, too. Alabama has to pay a price for that loss. And as you just correctly pointed out, Martin, which bugs me, we shouldn't have had the loss then. We should be undefeated because and I heard that too. You mean tell me you guys saw a player that had the potential to be the second coming of Cam Newton on your field, on your team, and you still wanted to play him like Greg McElroy or Bryce Young and all these other quarterbacks. I'm like you, that just doesn't compute. I'm a logical thinking person, and I can't get my logic around that. How do you do that? As long as it's in the future, you made him look bad early on to where we were all wondering, why aren't you taking that big hole there? Aren't you a dual threat? And I couldn't believe he was being coached not to do that. I was thinking maybe he didn't want to do it, and they would, but he got comfortable in doing it later. Okay, that's improvement on Milroe's part. But if it's the other way around, the coaches, that's just stupidity.
Kennington, I've given my thoughts on the fact that Nick Saban and Tommy Rees, it was said nationally on television that until 3 weeks ago, they were trying to make him into what they've always had in their offense. That may be the worst statement I've ever heard. Considering what we've seen in the last 3 weeks, I said it in the spring, summer, fall, all season that this guy is elite, if you make him a dual threat, go to Philadelphia, all of that. How do you wreck your brains around that statement when you see what's happened in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. I mean, it's just kind of crazy how this team is unrecognizable. The offense is unrecognizable. Milroe, everything is unrecognizable from the early season, and it was really like square peg round hole in terms of what they were trying to do with Milroe in the offense early this season, and they finally adapted to Milroe's strengths and they keep kind of adding on to it. You see the offense flourishing over the last few weeks. So frustrating that it wasn't like this from the beginning. Honestly, it would have been nice or preferable if you're a fan if they would have just named Milroe the starter after a spring practice and really just kind of leaned into this from the beginning. And Alabama probably wouldn't be in this situation. If I could just comment on the head-to-head thing, I understand it, but when you're looking at the playoff committee, there are different standards for different teams. Like, the only reason why Ohio State is number one is because they have these wins over Notre Dame and Penn State, yet Florida State is ranked number 4, and their best win is LSU, who has 3 losses, and Washington beat Oregon, they've beaten Utah, they're undefeated. They have way better wins, yet they're ranked number 5. So resume matters to some teams, but it doesn't matter to others. When it comes down to it, if Alabama runs the table, they're going to have the best wins. They're going to have the best resumes. They're going to be playing the best football. I feel like all of those things mixed together, you have to reward what they've done and put them in the 4. I'm not saying that Texas doesn't deserve to be in the top 4. I'm only speaking on Alabama individually, and I'm posing the question of how can you leave a team out of the playoffs that has, at that point, probably 5 or 6 top 20 wins and beat a team who hasn't lost in 3 years? How can you leave that team out?
Well, as we know, it's an opinion-based system right now with so few teams, which is why the expanded playoffs sure fixes all of this. But unfortunately, it's a year too late for Alabama. I'm almost saying if we lose.
Let me say this real quick, Robert. Let me tell you one thing that helps us this week is one of the people on the committee is the Kentucky athletic director, if I'm not mistaken. And him seeing us in person, playing our best, will go a long, long way if they have the legit conversation.
Yeah, and I'm almost wondering, hey, do we deserve? Did they say the Alabama coach staff deserve to lose, be out of the playoffs for one loss because of the stupidity? I'm hoping it's my first thinking is, okay, Milroe wasn't confident. He wanted to show he could pocket pass, but he let it go now, and now he's improved. I'm going to stick to that one, Martin, because the other one makes my coaching staff seem stupid. And I just don't want to believe that. So I'm going to live in La La Land. And Milroe's just better now.
Thanks, Robert. Coming back on the other side, thanks, Robert. We'll keep the conversation going. A couple people, Jason Rutledge and Yellow Jacket Brazil, keep referencing Virginia Tech beating Ohio State. And they still got in. The difference is that Virginia Tech wasn't ranked in front of Ohio State. And in this case, Texas is ranked in front of Ohio State right now. I still believe that Alabama resume, because they're going to have to go against everything they've said if they don't put Alabama in. We'll talk about that and how Bama won the West. We'll get good, bad, ugly, and all those other things that we have on the docket. We have Kennington Smith III of The Athletic in with us on the conversation. You can join it at 205-342-9904 or put your comments in chat.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, everything pretty quiet on the roadways on this Monday morning. We're looking good, but if you see conditions, do give me a call. 205-886-8886. 2468, up to $10,000 in instant savings now at Townsend Nissan, your hometown dealer. I'm Captain Ray.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Sky Rizzy, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Sky Rizzy is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Sky Rizzy, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Sky Rizzy, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizzy.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZY to learn more.
Football is back, and no one does it better than the Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. This season, you can watch the games with nothing on the line. Boring. Or you can make a play in the starting lineup. The Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino puts you into the big plays with big bets and big wins, making every game more exciting than ever. It's time for the sports glory you deserve without breaking a sweat. The Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. Play the game.
Must be 21.
You know what happens in a plasma chamber?
Big stuff. Science stuff.
Diamonds. I'm Tom Osmond. Fincher & Osmond Jewelers carries artisan-created diamonds.
Earth and human safe.
And bigger. Lots bigger.
Fincher & Osmond diamonds from the mines or artisan-created diamonds.
They're all diamonds.
If you want to give her the big stuff, you've got to see these diamonds.
FincherandOsmond.com. A little tricky to find on McFarland Boulevard between Edgar's and Local Roots.
When you wake up well-rested on a great mattress, everything becomes clear.
My life coach has a terrible life.
Things you missed when you were tired finally reveal themselves.
My passport is in the pocket of the duffel bag I took to Mexico.
It's the Black Friday sale at Mattress Firm. Get a king bed for a queen price and save up to $700 on Sealy. Plus, get a free adjustable base with select mattresses. And if you see a better price, we'll match it. The right mattress matters. We'll find yours. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Nissan has a car for everyone. For every driver who wants more, whatever that more may be. More head-turning style, more electric, more zip. The Nissan Sentra and Altima will elevate your driving experience. Comfort and innovation come together to make getting from point A to B exhilarating. The Nissan Sentra and Altima have sports-tuned suspension that makes every road imperfection obsolete. When you drive a Nissan, there is no compromising your next adventure. At Nissan, more is all they do. So get your endless thrills in a new Nissan today.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Here's Coach Nick Saban talking about Jalen Miro and this offense getting better.
Opportunity to get better at. You know, Jalen played really well. I thought, you know, the offense started the game out and set the tempo of the game extremely well. He played extremely well. The whole idea was the way they play on defense is take what the defense gives, and we nickel-dimed them in the first couple of drives, and then we hit a couple big plays. So I thought they did a great job on offense, and great team win for us.
That's Coach Nick Saban just talking about Jalen Miro's ability to grow and adapt and take advantage of what the other team gives him, Kennington. You know, when you look at Jalen Miro, we had Marvin Marbury asked the question, Martin, what do you think are Jalen Miro's chances of winning the Heisman? The guys on Saturday actually said it's not crazy to think and say this guy in Heisman talk. With that said, Kennington, I still have to say the most shocking thing I think I've ever heard is when they said they tried to make this guy fit the old offense. But just in general, what are your thoughts on Jalen Miro in his play?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a complete transformation, and you can't help but root for somebody like Miro who has kind of just, in a way, got it out the mud. I mean, think about his first career start, all the turnovers, battling, all of the outside scrutiny from people in the media, from people who root for Alabama, from people who don't root for Alabama, getting benched, the adversity against Texas, and then just continuing to keep his head down, work, stay who he is, be coachable, and the coaches have actually kind of adapted to what he's been able to do. And, as great as Nick Saban is and as great as Alabama's coaches are, coaches have blind spots too. And, they have, in a way, admitted that they, were wrong for trying to play the offenses the way they were early in the year, and they've rectified that. And now Alabama is kind of rolling to where they are right now. And as far as the Heisman conversation, I think it's possible for him to play his way into that conversation. Maybe it's a little, too far gone for him to be a finalist this year, but he has to be at the top of the Heisman conversation for next year for sure.
X.
Yeah, I mean, when you just look at what he's done, and as I said, 653 yards, 10 total touchdowns the last 2 weeks. It's amazing to think that we didn't try to build around this guy for as long as we did. We try, as you said, try to fit him into a square peg. But what does this mean for Alabama moving forward the rest of the season? Let's forget the Heisman. Let's forget any of the personal stuff, but just his play and what that can be against an Auburn in a hostile environment, against Georgia, who, as you said, haven't lost a game in almost 3 years.
Yeah, I think if you're an opposing defense, you have to be terrified of what he brings to the table. And the Kentucky game was a really great example of that, in the fact that even if he's not running, the fact that he's shown in the last few weeks that he will tuck his head and run is forcing defenses to play him a lot differently. When you look at a couple of the touchdown passes that he had, that zone coverage, all eyes on Milroe, when he starts rolling out and it looks like he's about to run, as a defender, you have to make a decision of if you're going to try to approach him and try to stop him, or if you're going to be disciplined enough to stay with your assignment in that moment. And we saw Kentucky decide to play up, and Milroe was able to use his legs to open up receivers and hit them down the field for long gains and for touchdowns. So he's kind of created a pick your poison element to the offense, to where he can hurt you on the ground. Obviously, he's able to hurt you through the air, and it's kind of opened up, everything. Alabama's also running the ball a little bit better on the ground. So his ascension has kind of unlocked Alabama's offense, and with that defense in the way that, Will Reichert has been kicking the ball and how reliable he is, it's starting to kind of feel like a classic dominant Alabama team.
Yeah, I mean, you think about this team, and you have to go back, and I'm not going to get into it because we're wrong at Kennington. We'll spread it out this week. You have to go back and look. Alabama versus Texas A&M now makes total sense. I told y'all then that they tried to play Bryce Young's offense. If they didn't take a whole spring, summer, fall camp to teach him, put an offense in for him, they didn't do it the week of the Texas A&M game. Let's be real. So all y'all who dogged him from last year in that Texas A&M win, you need to apologize for that one too. I just want to point that out. We'll dig into it more this week. But Kennington, when you look at this team and what they've done, to me, he's had the most dominant 2.5 games, 3-week span of any quarterback, any player, offensive player in Alabama history. And to me, you project forward, it makes Alabama just an absolute beast on the offensive side of the ball. But this team defensively shut down Kentucky. The 60 yards throws the stats out the window. The leading rusher and the top rusher, one of the top rushers in the SEC and in the country, I think 18 yards going into the fourth quarter. Just talk about this defense. And to me, Jahad Campbell has to be considered a beast because every game he's played, defense is dominated.
Yeah. Jahad Campbell cannot come off the field anymore. I mean, plain and simple, he cannot come off the field. He's too good. His ascension has been rapid. And to your point about Kentucky and stopping the run, the defensive line was the catalyst and they were the more physical unit, but that was a 3-level effort. I mean, Caleb Downs flying from the back end, making plays in the backfield. There was one play where Trey Amos shook an offensive lineman off of him, made a play in the backfield, 9 tackles for loss, and all 3 levels contributed to that. And Kentucky's offense is running the ball, and their pass game is built off the play action, and Bama pretty much shut that down from the very beginning. Dominant effort from the defense, and I want to give a shout out to Trey Amos, who played really well at his first start. And he's just been somebody who's been really consistent no matter when he's been called on, whether it's to play in the dime or sub in when somebody's gotten hurt. On Saturday was his first career start. His addition has been, I think, one of an underrated storyline, and it's allowed Alabama's defense and their secondary to play really well when they're able to just kind of plug somebody in who can just be a steady starter at cornerback. Jalen Key's also been a great addition as well. So Alabama's work in the transfer portal paying huge dividends this year, on both sides of the ball.
X.
Yeah, so the defense played phenomenal, and you look at the fact that they gave up 258 yards, 74 of them came on that run at the end of the game. It shows you how dominant they were with several key pieces out throughout the course of the game. With Lawson not being there, with Key not being there, they played, in my opinion, probably their most complete game on defense if you really stop and think about it, of what they were able to do and stopping what Kentucky was able to do. You think about their touchdowns as a 74-yard run at the end of the game and a muffed punt. So they didn't really move the ball that well. But Kennington, my question to you is this: defense played great, offense played great. Is it time? Is it officially time to get Kool-Aid off of punt return?
It's time. And hate to rag on the kid because he did come back and have a good punt return later in the game, but the inconsistencies, it's just a little too much to overlook. And Saban said after the game that
hold on, Kennedy. I'm gonna play this audio of Coach Saban regarding Kennington. Regarding Kool-Aid, which kind of surprised me. He almost went defensive mode, defender mode, and then he says, "I'm not trying to defend someone." But here's Coach Saban talking about Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Stay with him? What do you mean, stay with him? What would you do with him? I love the guy. He's a good returner. Look, the gunner on that side ran into him when he missed the punt. All right, that's the gunner's responsibility. You can't look up and catch a ball and worry about somebody that's running down the field blocking for you running into you. So he tried to fair catch the ball. I got every confidence in the world. He's been a good player for us, and I just think the players around him have to do a little bit better job because, when you get these radical punts, I'm going to call them, you don't get like easy ball field. You got to cover a lot of ground to catch it, and that launch point of where he's catching it changes for the people that are blocking for him. So I'm not making excuses for anybody, but you can't blame him for that one, in my opinion.
He's not making excuses for anyone. Yes, he is. And hold that thought because I'm gonna get you the respond to that on the other side, Kennington. To me, he is making excuses for someone. That was a statement that was full of excuses. We'll talk about it on the other side right here on the Martin Houston Show with Kennington Smith III.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, everything pretty quiet on the roadways on this Monday morning. We're looking good, but if you see conditions, do give me a call. 205-886-8886. 2468, up to $10,000 in instant savings now at Townsend Nissan, your hometown dealer. I'm Captain Ray.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. Despite the weekend rain, 16 wildfires continue to burn across West Alabama. The statewide total down to just over 100. This statewide burn order remains in effect. ABC 3340 meteorologist Evan Chick-Vera tells us after today's break, more beneficial rain is on the way. He believes that the weekend rain, though, has helped stem the spread of the drought. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage throughout the day. It's free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's back, the Captain Ray and Randy College Football Forecast Show, where we pick the winners against the spread. Join me and Randy Smalley Friday evenings at 11, right here on Tide 100.9. 15 minutes of fun and information. It's presented by Randy Smalley Floor and Tile.
This Alabama football season, join Kerry Clark, Mark McGriff, and Matt Coulter for the most comprehensive postgame coverage of the Crimson Tide. The Tide Postgame Show, live from Walk-On Sports Bistro. Walk-Ons, 675 Skyland Boulevard, Tuscaloosa. Scratch-made dishes, wall-to-wall TVs, burgers, bone-in wings, salads, and gumbo. The Tide 100.9 and 95.3 The Bear Tide Postgame Show will be live after every Bama football game. Catch Coach Saban's postgame press conference and the Walk-Ons keys to the game. Plus, we'll take your phone calls live. Walk-On Sports Bistro for the win. 675 Skyland Boulevard, Tuscaloosa, and online at walkons.com.
With Black Friday savings all month long at the Home Depot, you get all the jingle bells and whistles you could wish for with LG appliances. With America's most reliable line of appliances per independent consumer study, you can take holiday doing to holiday done and always be ready to handle last-minute holiday guests. Save up to $900 on select laundry sets with Black Friday savings, including top brands like LG at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Hey, Crimson Tide fans, if you have an automobile problem while you're in town for the game, call Jeff's Towing. Anytime your car won't go and you need a tow, call Jeff's Towing, 205-361-3997.
Tuscaloosa Locksmith does general locksmith work, laser engraving, and makes keys. They sell safes, key remotes, remote fobs, and smart keys. Tuscaloosa Locksmith, just off 15th Street behind the fire station.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
It's time, please, says Jason Rutledge. Defending his players, I applaud it, but I don't see the value of Kool-Aid back there, not at all. Where's the threat of a return or flipping the field even with 4 question marks? Kennington, I get Saban's defense, and I applaud him as a coach, and I believe he does have confidence in him. The question is, does Kool-Aid McKinstry have confidence in himself? And to me, maybe the gunner ran into him, et cetera, but I see guys get hit, bumped, ran in all the time. It's not that one play. It's the accumulation, in my opinion. What's your thoughts? I'll let you respond to Nick Saban's audio.
Yeah, I would agree that it's an accumulation. When you look at it from a holistic perspective, that return against Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken, the 27-yard return that he had later in the game is only the second positive punt return that he's had since week 1. The rest of the time, it's either fair catching or letting it hit the ground, rolling back, or a punt.
Say that one more time, Kennington. Say that one more time. Say that what you just said one more time.
The 27-yard return against Kentucky is his second punt return for positive yardage since week 1. He had an 11-yard return against Arkansas and the 27-yarder against Kentucky. And to Saban's point, maybe from the field level, it looks like Trey Amos ran into McKinstry. But if you look at it from the TV broadcast perspective, Trey Amos was in Kool-Aid's vicinity, but he never actually touched
I didn't think so.
So it was a clean drop. But maybe Amos obstructed his view. But in terms of actually running into him in a literal sense, that didn't happen. So credit to Kool-Aid for bouncing back and getting that 27-yard return. But when you look at it from a holistic perspective, it hasn't been a great year for him as a returner. And, I think I would like to see somebody else back there have a shot at it.
And here's Martin's question to this staff. Has his punt returns helped him or hurt him? Period. In terms of his draft and his status, has it added value to him and or the team? And if we have all those 5 stars, maybe he's the best we have because we don't see the other guys. But I look at guys like in MHS 0407 says, forget the fumbles. Kool-Aid is not explosive. I mean, he's not even when he catches the ball, he's not a guy who takes it to the house, in my opinion. Buns and Law are very explosive according to MH 0407. All right, let's a couple specifics for the game. We really didn't have to me, a turning point. My only concern with this defense is their ability. Now, the team as a whole responds well to negativity. The defense doesn't seem to handle initially a change or sudden change, like the punt return and the first two touchdowns, the punt return and the roughing the passer. That's when they got both of their touchdowns. Does that concern you at all? Because that's been this pattern all year. Even though this defense is great, that seems to get them, if they make a mistake, go back to the Arkansas game, et cetera.
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's just one of those, constant reminders in football in general that momentum is a real thing. And it seems like defense has a problem of in a moment of, like a quick adversity of like kind of gaining that momentum back. And it kind of happened a few times against Kentucky. So I would say it's a small concern. I think it might rule its ugly head in a bigger moment. But overall, the defense has played really well. But it is notable that almost every touchdown Kentucky scored was off of an Alabama mistake,
right,
whether it was the punt or roughing the passer or the long run at the end of the game. So those self-inflicted wounds, I think, is probably the biggest takeaway from that. And it's kind of hard to get the momentum back after you kind of hurt yourself and give the other team an opportunity to take advantage.
Real quick, is anybody complaining about them not reviewing the potential fumble? Just after that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Like the ref, they were just ready to go home. It was just
that is
this game is over. We just need to get out of here. It's cold. It's windy. They just didn't feel like being out there for an extra 5 minutes or whatever. But that was unbelievable how it wasn't reviewed. And maybe you could say that Saban should have called a timeout to give them that time to do that, but from the referee's perspective and their responsibility, that should have been an automatic review.
Yeah, and people have compared that to the LSU thing. LSU, there was a 15-minute delay because the player was hurt. They reviewed that one. This one was an immediate next play type of scenario. So, Kendra, what was your biggest takeaway or your players of the games for this week?
Yeah, offensively, got to go with Jalen Milroe, probably the offensive line, like co-MVPs. Defensively, Justin Boygby and Jahad Campbell are my defensive MVP. So those probably be my top four selections. Just it wasn't the most marquee win of the year for Alabama in terms of rankings and who they played, but it was by far the most complete win of the season.
Yeah, and I think the complete win starts with how well they came out of the gate offensively. First time we've seen it, and there was never a question. I think we went a grand total of almost 2 games. First punt of the LSU game, and then late in this game without a punt.
Yeah, I mean the offense they deserve some credit for kind of neutralizing Kentucky's offense as well. I mean, Kentucky had only run 3 plays and the score was 14-0.
Yeah.
And at that point, Kentucky's not going to be able to, run the ball. Alabama's going to be selling out against the run. They're not going to be able to establish play action. So got to give credit to Alabama's offense for partly shutting down Kentucky's offense as well from the opening kick.
Tide 109, they're saying that they had a caller who was at the game and said they did review the play. Listen, if they reviewed that play, they reviewed that play way too quick because that was too close of a play. I've seen them do reviews that are obvious, and it takes longer than it took. They ran that ball within a normal setup of time. So every play is reviewed. Let me clarify that to the caller who called or anyone. Every play is reviewed. I'm saying they should have stopped play long enough to actually review it, in my opinion, because you have to put different angles together because his knee was close. It was almost simultaneous, but who knows? Kennington, closing thoughts on this team, on this week, and what this Bama team, I know Saban's going to tell us they got a great opponent today and all that stuff, but the reality is, what do you want your team getting better at or doing this week as we prepare to wrap up the season?
Yeah, I think really the main thing is just kind of getting guys healthy, getting guys back onto the field. You'd like to get a positive report on, Key, Lawson, Ja'Cory Brooks. Hopefully Devontae Smith takes another step. Just getting guys well rested, this week, and then full go for the Iron Bowl next week.
And let's pray that Milroe's thigh bruise is just that, and he's able to rest and get back whole. Kennington, tell them where they can find you and what you got coming up.
On Twitter /X at SkinnyKenny _ The Athletic, mobile app, theathletic.com, Kennington Smith III, or you can search Alabama football. Doing a detailed review of the win today. More news and notes throughout the weekend. A feature on Jalen Milroe at the end to wrap it up.
At SkinnyKenny _ Hey, guys, come back tomorrow. We'll add DC Capstone report to the conversation. I'll also give you my insight. Hey, I was on a recon mission. I didn't bring that up today, but I'm going to talk about it. I was over at Athens and Sanford Stadium, Dooley Field, as they took down Ole Miss. Got an up-close personal look at the Georgia Bulldogs. So we'll talk about that throughout the week and what that meant. See if I got any signals or signs for you. I'm sending those to Reese and Steele today. But that's at SkinnyKenny _ on the X or Twitter. He'll be back with us next Monday as we prepare for the Iron Bowl. Remember this: trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. For Martin Houston, Xavier Houston, Noah Haynes, and the entire crew, thanks to all the caller listeners, viewers, and chatters for being a part of the show. We'll be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. Roll Tide out there, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.